Hi, Ron LeGrand here. Before we get started with the podcast, I thought you might want to know that I recently recorded a 90-minute online training about how we make so much money today in the terms business. That's on pretty houses in pretty neighborhoods, not the junk houses that we have to go rehab or wholesale. I go through step by step on exactly what I and thousands of my students are doing right now to make the fastest and the easiest money in real estate without using your money or credit. If you're interested in doing just that, go to thementorpodcast.com/free training. See you there.
Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the mentorpodcast.com. Today we have a couple of very special guests going to talk to you about the art of the short-term rental business / Airbnb. Now, you might notice my voice is a little off today. I kind of like it. It's a deep voice. Now, I sound like I actually know something, but it's not. It's going to go back to my normal voice shortly. I am at the end of my COVID experiment, and glad to get that out of the way. So it has affected my voice, but it really wasn't that bad. Actually, I didn't feel too bad. One day I did, but the rest of the time it wasn't bad. So I think this COVID thing is largely over publicized, to be honest with you.
Good,
because I've had colds that have affected me a whole lot worse. All right, guys, this short-term rental thing is kind of. I probably better introduce you guys first, hadn't I? All right.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. To the left is the brains of the outfit. That's John Gerstenlauer. He's the engineer. Then below him is the mouth of the outfit.
Oh, I thought you were going to say beauty.
No. Wasn't even thinking that, Scott.
Okay.
Scott Poirier. These two are partners. They live in the Northeast. Came into my real estate world in 2014, was it?
2015. Yeah.
2015. And along the way, becoming good quality real estate entrepreneurs and actually doing some deals, they discovered that short-term rentals was a pretty cool exit strategy. And in fact, they're not the only ones. There's a lot of my students are taking the properties that they buy and converting them to short-term rentals because the cash flow is, sometimes 3-4 times what you get when you put a tenant buyer in it. Kind of hard to turn your back on that. Now, it is truly just another exit strategy, but it is one that applies to almost all the properties because a lot of people think it's about vacations, don't they?
Yeah,
they do. Yeah, they do.
And the reality is the majority of our units and properties are actually not vacation rentals.
Yeah, so they're not in a vacation area. So I don't have to be in Orlando to have a short-term rental.
No.
Or any of those fancy, in fact, the competition would be fierce in those kind of areas anyway. So in reality, who is it that will come and stay in these short-term rentals? What kind of customers are we looking at?
Anybody. We've had people come into them because they're visiting family just from out of state. They may be going to a wedding or maybe a funeral, or they're moving in temporarily, looking for a job interview. Any kind of reason you can imagine. Someone might come to a hotel, let's say. Mm-hmm. They would also come to the short-term rental.
So that's really all you're doing is taking business away from a hotel.
That's right.
So I bet the hotel industry loves you guys. Huh? They
really do. We don't talk to them about it. We just go about our own business.
So you're kind of the Uber to the taxi business. Yeah, taxis and Ubers don't get along real good. All right.
Yeah,
that's all right. Now the cool thing about what you guys do though is I don't have to buy the property. I can lease it and then go put Airbnb tenants in it, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you teach, isn't it? Because, geez, that opens the doors big time. I don't have to go buy the property and figure out how to make offers on it and then come up with the closing costs and down payments or whatever. Yeah. I can just rent them and then go put tenant buyers in them. You can move pretty fast doing that. And then Airbnb does all the work for the most part.
They do. Yes, sir.
They find the tenants. Explain how Airbnb works.
Oh, it's great. So we just upload our property to the Airbnb site and just set it and forget it.
Yeah.
They take care of the advertising and the bookings, and they even, in most cases, they even pay our state occupancy taxes, take care of permits. They charge us 3% run. And then when the guest checks in, typically the next day I get a deposit in our checking account. Automatic. It's just.
So they collect the deposit and they collect the rent and they do all the paperwork crap.
Yep.
And and of course they find the tenants because the tenants go to their site to find the property.
Yep.
So then what is it left for you to do?
Spend money.
Well, besides that, okay, I know both of you married, so I know that's not a problem.
No, that's not a problem. So we do also set up our cleaner, we set up our crew, handyman, whatever. We set them up, and we have a person we call front desk who manages day to day for us. So really, except for the fact I went to last night, wife and I stayed overnight at one of them just to check it out, make sure everything's okay. I had to go up and visit a registry of deeds on the way home, and it was. But we like to get our eyes on these, or have someone get their eyes on them occasionally. And I mean occasionally, every 2 or 3 months, make sure everything's okay to keep our guests happy. But that's
I know, John, that you put cameras on the premises.
Right.
You probably even put them in the bathrooms. I know Scott wouldn't. He's a preacher. I know he wouldn't do such.
No, I wouldn't. But when I caught him doing it, I did straighten him out. John, you can't be
but folks, they're just joking.
No,
okay.
just joking. We never do that.
All right. So you put one on the front porch and one on the back porch, so you know what's going on the property. You put a electronic lock on the door that you control with your cell phone and change the code every time somebody goes in and out. All right. Yeah. So you can always see what's going on in the property, because the rules are they can't bring more than X number of people on the property, no parties or anything like that. Yeah. And that's right in the rules they sign off on before they check in. So you just keep an eye on the property, and then when they move out, you got somebody that goes in there and cleans it up and turns it around. You don't have anything to do with that process.
All automated. Yeah.
It's all automated. And that, no matter where you live, in fact, you don't live in the city where your Airbnbs are. And most people don't actually. So all of this is on autopilot. Once you set it up, and Airbnb is a big help with that, aren't they?
They are.
Getting it set up and ready to go. And then it's just a matter of getting somebody to do the turnaround, which there are companies that do that for you, and there are people that do that for you. They're not hard to find. So now all you got to do is keep an eye on whether it's rented or not. And then in order to keep it fully occupied, how far out would you lower the price from the date, just to make sure that it gets more attention?
Good question. That's a key way to elevate that occupancy. Yeah. So we look, anything beyond 30 days is set to our standard pricing. When it's in that 30-day window, the last 2 weeks of the month ahead, we'll adjust that down a little bit, and it elevates our listing on Airbnb. And then if it's not booked the 2 weeks ahead, the second week ahead of today, we'll adjust it a little bit more. And then if there's vacancies or not booked the week ahead, which isn't very often, we'll adjust it once more. And that's really one of the keys to elevating that occupancy rate.
That's how you can get an 85% occupancy.
That's right.
And I don't know how you could achieve any more than that, because you got the turnaround days that people go, what is your average stay?
It's not a week. I'd say probably 5 days, 6 days average stay.
So
of course, we always have exceptions. I mean, we had, in fact, you know what, Ron? It was last month we were hanging out with you, and John got a ding on his phone. It was Airbnb letting us know that we had gotten a registration with over a $9,000 deposit. It was like I forget what it was, a 70-day stay or something like that.
Yeah, 2.5 months.
Boom, just like a bag of money fell out of the sky,
Wow. At the regular room rate that you were charging per night.
Right.
Yeah, Lee. Okay, well, those kind you're looking for right there.
You bet.
Yeah.
All right. So your job is just to keep an eye on the rentals, make sure that you got to decide when the price drops.
Yeah.
Or can you automate that?
Well, we do. We have a sheet that we made up for our person in the front desk, and she takes care of that. She'll look at that. And so as far as I'm concerned, it's automated because she's.
All right, John, we're assuming I'm doing my first Airbnb. I don't have a front desk, man. I am the front desk.
Right. That's right. So
now I want to know what I got to do So I got to keep my eye on the rent. So my question was, is there some kind of a plan that Airbnb has that where I can put that in advance, that if it isn't rented by blank date, drop it to blank and so forth?
I haven't seen that. I don't think that's on the Airbnb site. We do it all manually. I don't think that exists on Airbnb.
But that manually is all it is going to a calendar. It's
I know.
A real simple process.
I know it ain't no big deal, but still somebody's got to do it. That's the whole point. Okay. All right. I mean, hey, I don't want to have to work at this thing. I have to work. Forget it. Okay. So, all right. So, and I do have to kind of keep it. All right. I'm a one person show. So it's up to me to watch the camera from time to time just to see what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then it's up to me to take any phone calls from the tenant if they can't find the toilet paper or whatever, right?
So they message you through the message app. Yeah.
Oh, it's a message app.
Yes, Airbnb message app that's how you communicate with them. So
they don't talk to you; they just message app you.
Right. Rarely do I talk to the guests. Rarely.
Yeah. How often do you even message app them? I mean, you've got a book in there that gives them instructions on how to do everything.
Exactly right.
Right. So there's really not that much reason. Unless something goes wrong, I don't know, hot water heater's leaking or whatever, something like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So in other words, you just keep an eye on it. Airbnb collects the money and deposits in your account. They collect the deposit. And I guess you have to determine when they get their deposit back, right? Or do they?
Well, that's automatic in Airbnb also, but we haven't used that feature. Exists on Airbnb. We don't typically use the deposit way of securing the room. We have a cancellation policy that Airbnb takes care of you. And they're all insured. So we're not too worried about collecting a literal deposit.
So you don't collect the deposit?
No, we haven't.
Okay. Do you collect the fee to clean it up and turn it around?
That is, yes, that's extra. So the guests pay in addition to the nightly rate what it costs us to clean. So we don't pay for the cleaning.
Right. Got it. So guys, how long do you think it would take me? Let's say I go lease or buy a house, or in fact, just maybe want to Airbnb part of my own home. For a lot of people are doing that. Or I have already something that I want to put out there on Airbnb. How long from the time that I get access to the property to where I can start collecting rents?
It's going to be a quick process, Ron. It would be really how long it would ever take you to go ahead and furnish it. You can do all that locally if you're starting with your own. Well, if you're starting with your own house, probably pretty furnished anyway. Well, once you onboard onto Airbnb, it's instant. Once you're up there and you got the property and you're going, it's being pushed out there. So
basically, you're saying I just need to furnish the house and then take photos of it and then get the site up.
Yep.
And then I'm in business.
Yep.
Right.
It's pretty simple. Yeah.
And speaking of furniture and stuff I'm putting in the house, where do you think that's going to come from, John?
My house at first.
Yeah.
My house is looking so clean now. And then
first thing you're going to do is clean out your own house, and that house is probably already furnished, right? Most certainly with all the junk, the pictures and all the crap on all of fancy stuff that you're absolutely going to come out of your house.
You betcha. Every single property we rent out has a picture of me on the wall someplace.
Yeah, too funny.
As it should be, John. They think you're important.
But after that, we'll go to the consignment shops and secondhand used stuff. We can get some good furniture for really cheap, and we know how to do that. So it's just it makes the business work great.
So we don't go into rooms to go and start buying new furniture to put in this house. I mean, that's not the way it's done.
No.
In fact, we go to places like the Salvation Army and all of the places that have the decent furniture. Though I mean, we can't have it sagging and
that's right
and nasty looking. So best guess. 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. What do you think it's going to cost to furnish it using used furniture and assuming we have nothing to start with of our own?
Oh, I can't imagine that it would really be more than a couple $3,000. I think the discipline for people is, and we when we're talking to that folks that have worked with us, is the discipline is don't furnish it like you're moving in.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that way. It just needs to have the basics and make it look cute. That's all it is.
Yeah, and then we got to furnish the kitchen. We got the dishes in there. And the silverware most certainly can come out of your house. And if not, Walmart is open. So that's
good deals. Yeah.
That's cheap stuff. Yeah.
That's not a large investment. You guys even got a list of this stuff, don't you, to put in there?
Right.
That you've created? Yeah. All right. In fact, you've got an upcoming online training on this now that I think about it. So where you're going to go through this thing step by step by step by step by step from beginning to end. That's pretty cool. Guys, if you want to, I better write this right down. thementorpodcast.com/STR, short-term rental, which is, by the way, what it's called. It's not called Airbnb, since that's a trademark name. It's called short-term rentals, but we do use the Airbnb website.
Use Airbnb.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And do you use any other sites beside Airbnb?
We have used VRBO, and we've gravitated to
Victor RBO. That's vacation rental by owner.
Right.
All right. And how's that work?
It works okay. We and you can actually synchronize both Airbnb and the VRBO calendars, so you don't have conflicts of bookings. You can do the same property on both platforms. And
but the truth is, if I'm getting these things booked 85% of the time, why do I care anyway?
You don't.
But I've always taught one is the worst number of business. So I think I'd want at least a couple of sites in case one of them is not
very
working.
Good point.
Well.
Yes, indeed.
Our case.
Yeah.
One of them gets aggravated and cuts me off for some reason because I said something political on there I'm not supposed to say, or some stupid reason like that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So guys, total investment, realistically, I got me a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in a normal city, forgetting whatever I'm going to give the landlord. What do you think it's going to cost me to get this thing to the point where I can start collecting rents on it, give or take?
I'm thinking that's $3,000. I'd say $3,000 to be safe.
Yeah. Which you can get back. I mean, depending on your property, you get that back within a couple of months.
Yeah. And you could spend a lot more, of course, if you want to go overboard, decorating the place out and like you're going to live in it.
We don't want you to do that.
We did that once, Ron, and that was an expensive seminar for us.
That's how we learned, you know?
Hey.
And by the way, if I were buying, like, say, a couch, I probably wouldn't buy one with fabric. I'd buy one with vinyl so it washes right off. Thinking through, the wear and tear on this house. And in fact, if I had the house and I had to do anything to the floors, they would definitely not be carpeted. They would be luxury vinyl plank,
right?
So that we can just mop them up easily. Of course, you'd learn that pretty quick because anything that absorbs dirt is going to get dirt. That's for sure. On the other hand, from what I'm told, these Airbnb tenants, by and large, are pretty darn good, responsible tenants, aren't they?
Yeah,
yes,
they really are. Ron, you remind me to say this, that the people that are coming to our rentals, it's not like they're sitting in there all day and eating 3 meals in there all day. They need a place to sleep. They may actually use the kitchen, but a lot of them just take takeout food. They're only in for a few days. Right. So the wear and tear on furniture is not like what you would see if you were living in the house 24/7. It's just not.
Yeah. So it's actually wear and tear is less, which is a part of the pitch that you give a landlord.
Yes. I like to call it our irresistible offer. We've got a very sweet, irresistible offer that's very hard for the landlord to say no to.
Okay, that's assuming you're renting it. Of course, I want them to buy it.
That's right.
But if they don't want to buy it, they can rent it. And honestly, it is strictly a choice of exit strategies. Upside is you get a tremendous cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Downside is I got to give up that big non-refundable option deposit that I'm not going to get from Airbnb tenant buyers, but I'm swapping it for a big pile of cash flow. And that decision is going to be made individually by the person in charge. But I've got students out there right now that are really going gung-ho at this thing and adding these things on as fast as they can. And some of them are, I can see them getting to the point to where $25,000 to $50,000 a month net income on these things is not going to be that hard to achieve, is it?
Ron, and we've learned everything you've taught us about buying on terms, and that's been incredibly valuable for us. That's how we built our real estate business.
Mhm.
But we know that there are a lot more landlords who are willing to rent to us than there
Sure.
are landlords who are willing to sell to us. Number one. Number two, once you build that relationship, that could just be delayed for a year or two. You stay in connection with those landlords, you still may have the opportunity to actually get that on terms.
And landlords are already renting.
That's right. Not a hard conversation.
Not hard to get them to take a monthly payment without having to do anything.
That's
And
right.
in reality, your only discussion is the monthly payment and the term. And the truth is, it don't really matter that much what the monthly payment is,
It really doesn't.
because the cash flow is going to be multiple times that. So it's not something we want to lose a deal over.
That's right.
So I see where it would be very easy to lease these properties, and you do lease them, right? You don't
That's
rent
right.
them month to month.
Right.
Correct.
You don't want the landlord pulling it off from underneath you and taking over your Airbnb after you get it up and running.
Yeah.
So what kind of a term do you normally lease them for? Go
Yeah.
ahead.
But I was going to say, and adding to that, and as we've processed through this, where you can do the approach I take is we're doing a long-term lease, so it's a 1 year with the option for renewable years. But we've also built in on something that we call our addendum to the lease, which is really, that's the thing, that's the magic that makes all this happen, Ron. And within there, we do have a 3-month window in case we want an exit strategy to get out. We're talking no risk in this which has not happened to us, but it's in there and it's a safety net should we run into something that would not work for us.
So it's, your landlord absolutely has to know that you're going to STR the property.
Right.
So that lease is in there, because if it doesn't work out as an STR, then you can get out of the lease. I mean, that clause. Yeah, I got it. So you lease for 1 year with the option to renew for a 5-year or?
Yeah, I mean, we're always going to go for as many as we can. We have the option, but then we can back out if we decided. Let's just say we decided after a year, you know what, this is really a pain in the butt. We end it.
Yeah,
we're done. But
right. And you still lease it in an LLC.
Oh, yes.
Never in your own name, because I would punish you if I thought you did
I
that.
know you would.
And we know
You
that,
are
Ron.
personally
You taught us well.
liable on that lease if you lease it in your own name. So I always suggest use an LLC that doesn't own anything
Yeah. It's empty.
as the lessee on that lease. Use an LLC that doesn't own anything. For those of you who've seen my presentation, that's A, B, C, D. This would be the D LLC that doesn't own anything. It's there just to put in harm's way for situations like this. Then, if worst case scenario, and you get into a war, the only one they can sue is D, which doesn't own anything.
Right.
All right, guys. If I'm just starting and I don't know anything about short-term rental, first thing, I better go watch your training coming up. That's for sure. And then all I really got to do is take that information, go out and lease a property or buy a property, or in fact, determine I want to do one that I've got already. Some people, a lot of our listeners have already got properties that they are currently vacant or about to be vacant. And I'll say again, you better go on Airbnb, guys and gals, and do some looking around, because you're going to be shocked at some of the quality of the houses that are on Airbnb. I swear, some of them are in war zones. I mean, they're in war zones. I mean, I look at Jacksonville and I can tell by the address that the property's in war zone. Here they are on Airbnb. And they're not getting killer prices, but they're getting way more than they'd get putting a tenant in the house. And yet they're still out there Airbnb-ing them. So you owe it to yourself to go on Airbnb.com and pull up your city and just see what's going on in your city. Not that this has to be in your city, by the way. Frankly, I can make a case where it should be outside of your city. Then that'll keep you from going over there every day and making a mess and insisting on doing everything yourself and getting consumed in your business, which is pretty easy to do. So these things are autopilot, but don't prejudge whether it'll work as an Airbnb or not. In fact, I've seen people actually take a house, it's unfurnished, and then they have somebody put furniture in it online. What do you call that? Photoshop.
Oh, yeah.
And then put it on Airbnb and see if it's going to work. Okay, well,
We've never
case,
done it.
I know, but
Yeah.
you know what's the harm in it? You just tell them, well, we've changed the furniture from what you see on Airbnb.
Yeah.
The ones that rent it. So in other words, you test it first. But I don't think you're going to have to worry about that because these things are pretty much everywhere. They really are. All right. What do we need to know that we haven't already discussed, guys?
Well, I can tell you that when your folks do get a chance to see the training, there's going to be some good content. I'd encourage them to bring in a notebook and get their computer camera ready to get some good snapshots because we got some great slides. I think we'll give them some really good tips about how to really maximize on those.
You do. You not only you're going to talk about the automation thing here, the electronics. This is where John comes in. The engineer talks about the electronics. He loves playing. He loves playing with these things. How often you get on that camera and watch your units, John?
Well, I got kind of busy. I used to do every single day.
I should say how many hours a day, John?
No, not even one.
Yeah, once we change the cameras from the inside to the out, he doesn't watch them anymore.
So do you have a camera inside the house?
No, we don't.
Could you
have
one inside the house legally?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of law. It depends in your state. But
no, I know
Airbnb, you have to disclose if you do on the site. We don't want to disclose that. But the insurance company makes you sign waivers if anything in the living space, even common hallways. Really.
Yeah. I wouldn't rent from you if you had a camera.
I don't want to know.
We don't want to
know.
Yeah, right. All right. So anyway, you just got one in the front and one in the back. You got the door lock all taken care of.
Yep.
And what other electronics do you have? I can't remember.
Thermostat. We like a thermostat. And then one thing we'll do for, depending on the property, we'll use a special noise sensor so that if there is a loud party or a lot of noise that might be disturbing neighbors, if you're in a common building or even.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it's a noise aware app and we'll get notified. And I've had it trigger one time. We have one of our properties where they have motorcycle week and in the backyard, they just revving the bikes up. I said, whoa, I got an announcement from Noise Aware. There was no problem because it was just sudden. It was a motorcycle.
Well, how does that work? There must be something on the property to trigger that.
Yeah, there is. It's a sensor. So we have the Noise Aware. Cool. They have interior and they have the exterior of little devices that plug in. And one of the outside is battery powered. And they just sense this. It's not just a bang. If it was a sudden noise, it wouldn't do it. But a sustainable, loud noise at certain decibel level.
All right, so you got them covered electronically then, don't you?
Can you hear how excited he was going over all that with you, Ron?
Yeah.
He does love this stuff.
We have a few more. There's like a motion sensor, a temperature sensor. There's a luminance sensors, so if lights are left. Different properties have different needs. There's sensors and things remote for everything you can imagine. So we have few of them. I can control routers. If I have a guest complain, the Wi-Fi is not fast enough, I can reboot the router remotely. And there's all kinds of things that can be done.
You're scaring me, John.
I know, Ron. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So I don't have to do all this crap, but if I want to, and I'm electronically challenged, you just get my 15-year-old to do it for me then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Or get somebody else to do it. Just kidding. All right. We're running out of time here, guys. So what else do you think that I should talk about that I haven't discussed so far?
Well, I mean, you've touched on our automation. We've got some great tips on that training. I think people are going to want to really hear. Actually, there's a lot of stuff that people who are in the industry who are just doing, a unit here or there, they're just trying to supplement their income a little bit. They don't know a lot of the stuff that we're going to be sharing with your folks in this 1-hour training. Yeah. So real good stuff, real important stuff that a lot of people don't even know about.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I do want to say, hey, Ron, just between you and me and your listening audience, I know that John thinks that we have pictures of him in all of our properties. They're actually mirrors, but let's let him think that those are pictures of him. But anyway.
Quit picking on him for crying out loud.
Oh, really?
He's sensitive.
You make me cry, Scott.
By the way, you listeners, you're looking at two of our mentors. We have actually 12 total. I look at them as one because they act as a team. Yeah. And they do an incredible job working with our students, guiding them through the business of buying and selling or holding their Airbnb properties. So I picked them because of their servants' hearts and because they're easy to pick on.
Listen, it's been an honor doing this with you, Ron. It really has.
That's been fun.
Hundreds of your students around the country, and it's really been an honor.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun when we get together.
Yeah,
it really is.
Sure is.
Every time we do a quick start school, several of you are there. You guys are always there now, since you speak at it. But you do a great job with our students, so we're glad to have you. All right. Well, listen, one more time, the mentorpodcast.com/STR. Now there's a test. What does STR stand for?
Sierra Tango Romeo.
Yeah. Short-term rentals. Okay.
That's right.
All right. So thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time here.
Great. Always great to be with you, Ron.
All right. Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Okay.
And
Bye, everybody. Yep.
all right.
I know.
See you later.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.